In a rare win for the Biden administration. I'm so nostalgic for the Biden administration. It seems like it was decades ago, but it was only about 70 days ago when Joe Biden was our president. And one of his major policies that he tried to promote was gun control. And he went after ghost guns, which are those guns that are DIY. You create them at home. You're building an old radio transceiver or transmitter or something else at home, a jigsaw puzzle. You can build a gun. In fact, one of the gun manufacturers that sells these kits that you can buy at home says, buy, build, and shoot. Yeah, that's the problem. Question is for the Supreme Court whether that type of kit is governed by the Gun Control Act of 1968 or not, which is requiring people that buy them to get background checks and people that sell those kits to make sure that they're registered. Over 30,000 ghost guns were used in violent crime on the streets of America, just totally unregistered guns in the last 2 years. And the Supreme Court took it up and they made a ruling 7-2. Are you on the edge of your seat? Find out more on Legal AF After Dark. Here's a clip.
Finally, though, on a positive note, this 7-2 ruling seemed like an obvious ruling. So, kind of clapping for it is probably, not deserved. Like if that's where the Overton window has shifted on Second Amendment issues. But Popok, why don't you briefly hit this 7-2 Supreme Court ruling?
Yeah, that's we had hoped this would happen. We're speaking of nostalgia for the Biden administration. This is a Biden era push to have home kits that you can make a DIY gun at home. Already sounds bad. They're either 3D part manufacturing or you just get the whole kit. And these kits either run the gamut from like a jigsaw puzzle where everything has to be put together and it takes you hours to do it. And there were reproduced photos in Gorsuch, who wrote the majority opinion, the 7-2 opinion by Gorsuch, or it's not a kit at all. The thing is exactly a gun. It's got a couple of plastic tabs you need to just cut. You shove the magazine in the bottom. And as one of the advertisers, one of the labels on the side of the box said that Gorsuch reproduced, just buy, build, and shoot. Right. And that's the point. The question was whether this type of kit was governed by the Gun Control Act of 1968. Remember when Congress used to get together with national tragedies and handle them a bipartisan way, like when RFK was killed and Martin Luther King Jr. were killed, and they came up with maybe we should get guns off the street. Remember that? So the Gun Control Act still exists. And the question was a little bit of an esoteric one, whether the Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives Bureau, whether the Bureau's interpretation of issuance of a regulation pursuant to the Gun Control Act of 1968 under Joe Biden, under the Biden administration, where it said that these kits need to become, who are being sold by gun manufacturers, have to be registered with serial numbers, and people that get them have to get background checks, and because the explosion, no pun intended, of these kits, 30,000 ghost guns, that's what they call them, with no serial number, were used in crime in the last year, up from 1,000 5 years ago. So we got a problem. And all Gorsuch and the other 6 said is that these two things can live in harmony. The Gun Control Act does not mean that this regulation is facially invalid. Now, he left it open for depending upon the type of kit and but he didn't like the kits that he had seen because they looked a lot like guns out of a box. So now the ruling based 7-2 with Alito and Thomas. Of course, Thomas, who wrote the Braun decision, New York Rifle, about expanding the Second Amendment rights, making them personal rights for people and not allowing regulation of people having personal sidearms and other weaponry unless back in old-timey time they could find a historical antecedent or analog for it. He wrote that. So of course, anything that looks like gun control, so there, as I said in a hot take, 2 people on the court are in favor of mass murder and mayhem used by guns that are unregistered, which law enforcement hates, by the way. And 7 thought that's not such a great idea. Let's find a way to shoehorn these DIY kits into the regulations. Again, they're not banned. You can continue. Sorry, I'm stuttering over it. You can continue to make your guns at home, but you got to get a background check and you got to get registered. It's not going to be an off the grid weapon because so many of them are ending up in the perpetration of violent crime. Welcome back. That's a podcast that we call Legal AF. And if you didn't know why we call it that, now you do. We do it on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Midas Touch Network. We rebroadcast it ad-free on places like Patreon, my Michael Popok Substack, and over on Legal AF, the YouTube channel that you can subscribe to. And if you know about Legal AF, you're already part of our audience. Really appreciate you. Take that clip, send it off to people in your life. Ask them to join our ride as part of their own. We're organic, word of mouth. No outside investors. Nobody tells us what to say. Completely independent journalism and reporting going on over here. So until my next report on all things Legal AF, this is Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.